And I'd like to turn it over to John and Chris to introduce themselves.
Hey, John, you first.
So I will introduce myself. I'm the Field Services Director at CPF. I manage a lot of our programs. As you may hear later, CPF is a staff of 3, and all 3 of us are here today. And if you have any questions about who we are or what we do, yes, Cindy?
Next slide.
Oh, next slide. Okay. This is a little bit about us. Chris, would you like to talk a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm actually got trapped in Orlando with the current situation, and I'm broadcasting from my 1959 A-frame, and I'm the Development and Marketing Director.
And I'm broadcasting from the hills of Napa. So we're bi-coastal and in the hinterland. So please forgive the technical issues with the screen. We're doing our best here. Just a little bit about the California Preservation Foundation. We are a 501c3 not-for-profit organization, a membership-based organization. Founded over 40 years ago, our mission is to protect California's historic resources through education and advocacy. Our members are the heart of this organization. And if you are a member, we thank you for your support. If you're not a member, we would encourage you to consider joining to support the work that we do throughout California. We would like to take a moment to acknowledge the firms that support our work throughout the year. We couldn't do the work that we do without our members and without our sponsors. CPF has 2 major sponsorship programs, our annual sponsorship program. These are the individual and firms that support our work throughout the year. Cornerstone sponsors, Pediment sponsors. Next slide. And our Cornerstone sponsors. These are individuals that are committed to our mission and to the work that we do and step up and support us with their generous financial support. Next slide. We would also like to acknowledge those firms and individuals that support our 2 major events of the year, the California Preservation Conference and the 2019 California Preservation Awards. Next slide. The new social distancing requirements have created a new challenge for us. As many of you know, the California Preservation Foundation has an annual program of both online and location-based programs, including our workshops, our annual conference, and the California Preservation Awards. But we, like so many of you, have had to adjust to working in isolation. The California Preservation Foundation has responded with a robust, innovative lineup of online programs that will increase and diversify our programs to deliver our live programs in a virtual environment. Next. We also use this time to be creative in how we teach the value of historic preservation. Next. We will remain connected, bringing people together to learn and to interact. And finally, support a broader community. In addition to our regular lineup of programs, of online programs, we have created 4 new programs that we will describe.
And before we describe the new programs, we were going to play a short video clip that sort of describes the types of programs we do.
California Preservation Foundation's mission is to educate and advocate for the protection of historic and cultural resources in California. It
It has been a place for professionals to come together to share the knowledge of their special fields in historic preservation and then send that knowledge back out to the public, both through education and advocacy and technical assistance.
CPF has a wide range of programming, whether you're an individual community member looking to save a small building within your neighborhood, or a large city looking for a bigger partner to help achieve a broader initiative.
CPF has been very instrumental in providing my staff and I with educational opportunities through workshops and conferences.
Their programs, their webinars, their website is all connected. For me, I can find resources for my community and helping my community through CPF.
They put together programs that simply can't be beaten any place.
CPF for my students is really about the professional network that they can take advantage of, learn from, connect with.
You need a family, you need a network, and CPF provides that for people so that they don't feel isolated in the cause of historic preservation.
People expect this of a statewide organization, and this is what we're delivering.
Learn more about CPF.
California preservation.
Oh.
Okay, that was great. I love that video. So I wanted to discuss the new programs. We've come up with a whole slate of interesting things for us to do while we're at home. The CPF has actually been a leader in tech in these terms. We have over 200 recorded webinars in our content vault, and we'll talk about that. But what we're going to do for the spring and summer is we'll have our regularly scheduled webinars. We're introducing a pro-preservation speaker series that will help you stay up to date on your continuing education. Our From the Vault program is going to be releasing a free webinar each month, some of our most popular material. We have the Doctor is In, which Cindy will talk about later, and that's where you actually can get a chance to interact one-on-one with our group, with people who have national prominence and advice to convey in terms of historic preservation. And then we actually have a few fun things scheduled as well, more fun than that. And now for something completely different, which is going to be an early evening program featuring creatives and with the different takes on historic preservation. So John, I think you're up.
Yeah, so as you may know from our programs, CPF has always held regularly scheduled programs, webinar programs, between 12 to 24 webinars a year since 2011. And I just wanted to remind everybody that all of our programs qualify for, our webinar programs, regularly scheduled programs qualify for continuing education units, both from the AIA and the AICP. And if you require ASLA units, those also qualify in many cases for ASLA. Now, prior to our conference occurring this year, we had planned a number of programs between March and August, and I'll talk a little bit more about these. If you're interested in more details about each of these programs, you can go to californiapreservation.org/programs/webinars, and we can send you these slides if you'd like to review it later in detail. These programs are a great way to fulfill your continuing ed requirements. They're also affordably priced for people who need those sort of units for their professional training, or if you're a commissioner to fulfill your CLG requirements. And as many of you may know, for members who are at the 250 and above level, you receive these programs at no added cost. If you're at $500, you receive both access to the live program and access to the recorded programs, unlimited access. So we do encourage you, as a part of today's program, to look into membership, and Chris can tell you more about that if you'd like to give her a call. For the programs that we have coming up, we just had one on March 25th on large-scale adaptive reuse projects. It was a wonderful program. We had 400 people there. On May 6th, we'll do a program on the different aspects of integrity. We have some experts from the Presidio Trust and other experts from across the state who will talk about all the aspects of integrity, and that'll be followed up with an actual workshop. In June, we will have the kickoff, the 3-part Modernism series. So the first part will look at the challenges of preserving modernist concrete. Part 2 will look at master architects, so look at the most well-known architects of modernism. And then on August 5th, we'll split that up with a program on form-based code and how form-based code intersects with preservation. And then we'll close out our modernism series with a program on the 1970s. For our pro-preservation series, this is a brand new program that we have responded to, and Cindy will tell you what we were responding to. You'll notice in the photo, there's a photo of Sacramento, and there's a reason we've chosen to use that photo. So Cindy, did you want to talk about our conference?
I sure will. So our annual conference that was scheduled for May 17th through the 20th will be postponed. We really don't feel that it's prudent to move forward with an on-site 4-day conference given the current circumstances. So we are planning an online version of the educational portion of the conference, and we're still working through the details. As you can well imagine, it is a major undertaking, one, to plan a conference like this, and then it is equally difficult to pivot and try to reschedule everything. But we are trying to do this because we feel that this is important information. We have people that have put a lot of work and effort into this, and quite frankly, we feel that the program is extremely dynamic. Telephone ringing. I can't deal with that. Anyway, so just stand by, and we will give more information about the dates and the times and the full scope of the conference program. It's going to be exciting, actually. John, back to you.
Yes. So the Pro-Preservation series of programs is a 5-part series of free programs, and we haven't yet fully worked out the details, but they will most likely be free to the people who have registered for the conference. And the intent is to connect them directly to the tracks from the conference. So we have 5 tracks planned for the 2020 conference. One was on resiliency. One was looking at protecting intangible heritage. Another was on infill and affordable housing, a very contemporary topic if many of you have been following the affordable housing crisis. Another is on rural and agricultural heritage. And then finally, we had a track on Main Street programs. Each of these online programs, they will be entirely online, are presented by new speakers who were not initially planned for the 2020 conference, but who we've reached out to, and we have solidified their involvement to do a special online program connected to the conference. So starting with April 15th, we will have a program on protecting the legacy of California's historic dams. That'll be presented by David Rogers. He's the Carl F. Hasselman Chair in Geological Engineering at the Department of Geosciences and Geological Petroleum Engineering at the Missouri University of Science and Technology. He will look at dam disasters and resiliency planning for dams in the state of California. His focus will be California, but I'm sure it'll be applicable to all types of dams across the country. And then the second program will be on looking at virtual reality and augmented reality for historic sites. That will be presented by a panel of speakers that would include Sue Ding. She's a documentary filmmaker and senior programmer for new media at the Los Angeles Asian Pacific Film Festival, and she'll talk about her work interpreting Manzanar, which we all know is a National Historic Landmark here in California. Then we'll have a program on how historic preservation and housing can go hand in hand. We'll have a 4th program attached to the 4th track that will look at strategies for challenging or difficult rural and agricultural histories. and we'll look specifically at the Delta. And then finally, we'll have a program on how to develop or maintain effective Main Street programs. And we'll have some expert speakers from Main Street programs across the country speaking on that topic. Chris, would you like to talk about our From the Vault series?
Yes, for sure. Thanks, John. I'm very excited to introduce From the Vault, which is where CPF is going to bring out one of their more popular webinars. So, and these are going to be free for everybody, so you can share them with your friends. Some of the ones that we're going to go over, as you know, I'm in Orlando. We all know that the Disney parks are closed for the long term, it seems like. So we're giving you a chance to actually go to the Disney parks on your own time. So that we're going to start with a webinar called Take Me on a Trip, which is the architectural style and history behind Disney's attractions. This is a 90-minute webinar where we have some expert historians and architectural historians who will help illuminate the design influence for each of the attractions that you love. We look at Tiki, which is a great one in Disney. We use, there's a quiz for participants on architectural styles, and the panelists reference particular planning strategies and patterns of development at the Disney parks. For me in Orlando, I've been to Disney World quite a bit, and it's 35,000 acres of a planned cultural environment, so it's very interesting to get into that. We're also going to have a second one for May. Each of these will be released free for 1 month. The second webinar that we'll be releasing is Beyond Mod, After Venturi, and what is the future of postmodernism? And postmodernism is just a small stylistic moment in American architecture in particular that has not always been appreciated and is actually very difficult to preserve. For that one, we have a few case examples, including the San Diego Museum of Contemporary Art, Kresge College by Charles Moore, and Horton Plaza from 1985. And our panelists will be discussing this unique style of architecture and some of the issues surrounding the preservation. I wanted to also mention that each of these webinars comes with notes and other downloads that you can utilize. Let's see, the one we have for June is Millard Sheets and Home Savings, Mid-Century Modern Architecture for Corporate and Urban Identity. And if you've driven any place around California, you've seen Millard Sheets' work, even if you're not sure that you've seen it. Some of these banks, you'll see these beautiful tile mosaics, and many of these are actually endangered, because the banks are not always going to be reused. I know that there was a Millard Sheets even I think 2 months ago. The tile mural was being disassembled as the building was being demolished. So in this one, we have scholar Adam Aronson is going to present the research from his new book, which is the book out yet? I don't know, John. Do you know?
Yeah, it is out. It's available.
Okay, so when we had the webinar, it was a new book. The book is now out, so you can cross-reference. But it talks about Millard Sheets' works at the Home Savings and Loan, and especially during this period of architecture, art and architecture were very closely intertwined, and that's something that we can look at more closely in that webinar. For July and August, we are bringing back webinars that are very useful for professionals really across the country, where there's an examination of the Secretary of Interior Standards 45 years later. A lot of us are very familiar with the standards and use them daily, but they haven't really been updated as much as we'd like to see sometimes, but they're still subject to interpretation. In August, historic context statements, beginners primer, or just to get you started. Historic context statements are really the first step. If you don't have this kind of documentation, it's very difficult for advocates to argue for preservation. So historic context statement is often that first step that you can take towards a community effort. What do we have next, John? Oh, this is Cindy.
Oh, the doctor is in. So the doctor is in is a program that we're kind of dusting off and presenting in a virtual platform. This is a program that is meant to be entirely interactive, where the audience can send questions and ask the experts. This was a program that we started years ago, and actually it was when I first came on board at CPF as the program director for the 2002 conference in Santa Rosa. Now, we were trying to connect the Charles Schulz Museum and the Peanuts characters with the conference in some way. So we created a session during the conference called the Doctor is In, where we had multiple individuals on a panel. It went for 3 hours where people could just come in and participate and listen. So we're going to do that in a virtual platform, but with one speaker. So we're doing this on a every other week schedule, and we're starting with Cindy Olynyk, who, if you're involved in historic preservation in California, you're probably familiar with Cindy. She used to be the communications director for the Los Angeles Conservancy, and she's out on her own now. She has a consulting business, a communication consulting business, and her first program is going to be preservation marketing and crises management, and that will be next Tuesday from 12 to 1. Next up will be Anthony Flint, who is a architecture critic for the Boston Globe, an author and a fellow with the Lincoln Institute, and he'll be talking about subjects related to really important issues that we're facing in California. We asked him if he would speak on urbanity versus climate and cultural change. He's also very interested in addressing the housing crises. So we're looking forward to what he's going to be presenting, and we'll let you know about all of these individuals. But the list that you see here are the individuals that have been contacted and have confirmed that they will participate in this program. Alan Hess will be speaking. Many of you are familiar with Alan, very well-known author and architecture critic, architect. Barbara Lamprecht, talking about Richard Neutra, the health and architecture as envisioned by Richard Neutra. Mike Buehler, the executive director of San Francisco Heritage, will talk about the legacy business program in San Francisco and San Francisco Heritage's role in getting that important piece of legislation passed in San Francisco. I will be joining Tony Gonzalez, our lobbyist, to talk about the California tax credits and what's happening there, give folks an update on the tax credit bill. And Adrian Fine, the advocacy director for Los Angeles Conservancy, and Don Ripkema will give a presentation on the 2020 Preservation Positive Report. So we're looking forward to this, and this is free for all participants. And we'll see how we can manage a virtual platform, an interactive platform, but we're really looking forward to it, and have got just a tremendous lineup. So back to you, John.
Well,
sorry.
It's okay. Yes, so that program is free and this program is free. So a lot of these programs are really meant to give back to the community, and also to make people aware of the work that CPF is doing, and really the reach of historic preservation and architecture in our community. So the last set of programs we have is called And Now for Something Completely Different. The first speaker that we have confirmed for this is Janine Opawal, and she recently was at Palm Springs Modernism Week. So if you were there, you might have seen her. She is a production designer, and she works on, she's worked on films such as LA Confidential, Catch Me If You Can, Seabiscuit, The Bridges of Madison County, and Pleasantville. She's been nominated for an Oscar 4 times, and she's a recipient of the Art Directors Guild of America Lifetime Achievement Award. Interestingly, she also worked with Charles Eames for 6 years before she started her career in film. And I recently was talking to her on the phone. If you've seen LA Confidential, you know how important it is to have these buildings as part of our preservation discussion. For me, when I work a lot on Richard Neutra advocacy and preservation, and there's a picture in the lower right corner of the Lovell Health House from 1927 that was featured in LA Confidential. And even though that movie is, at least 2 decades old, I think, people still remember that house for its short scenes in LA Confidential. And so when you're talking about preservation projects, you can use film as a shorthand. So instead of talking, maybe if you're thinking of John Lautner, you might tell somebody, well, it's the building that was in Diamonds Are Forever, his Palm Springs Elrod house, for example. And it really helps you get into the public sensibilities much quicker. So Janine is going to talk about actually some of the things she's going to discuss is the TWA building at JFK Airport in New York. When she filmed, she was the production designer for Catch Me If You Can. And when they filmed that movie, the TWA terminal was still very much in danger of being demolished, which people might have forgotten already, but it was definitely on the edge of being demolished. And she's going to talk about reusing that building. They actually rehabbed it in part for the movie filming, and that did have an impact later on the preservation of the structure. And then the Lovell Health House, as you know, is for sale right now by the owners. The Topper family has been there for 60 years, and the house has recently gone on the market. So this is, you know, is a key moment for buildings when you're changing stewardship. So we'll also be talking about that with Janine, and we're looking forward to that. We're lining up some other people. This will be a nighttime program, so a little bit of wine time or cocktails. If you want to do that, we'll have our virtual cocktail hour, and we'll talk to other people. The other person we have is going to talk about Sacramento, and I'll just get his name here. It's William Berg, and the title of his is Wicked Sacramento, Preservation Stories Involving Brothels, Speakeasies, Gambling Houses, and Other Historic Dens of Vice and Sin. So this is not your usual historic preservation approach, but it's fun, and I think it'll be a great discussion.
Thank you, Chris. And I guess I'm the person to encourage everybody to ask their questions. This is now treated from here on forward as an open discussion. What CPF would like to know from you is what we can be doing for you, because you are members of ours, and we're here to help you learn more and be a part of the preservation community. So now's your time to play a role in that by asking us questions. And so if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to type them into the chat box. You can also use the Q&A box. I'll keep an eye on that. I know a lot of you are in challenging circumstances right now. We're trying our best to offer these programs to you so that you can continue to learn while you're working remotely.
Yeah, I have a question for the participants. Maybe you could type in where you're calling from. Are you calling from, like, what city? Are you in California? And just share with us where you're from, and maybe a building that you're most interested in.
I think we would also encourage you to submit any recommendations that you may have about programming. You know, we are trying to offer up a variety of programs that appeal to a broad range of individuals, trying to mix it up with something fun too. It's not all about learning CEUs, and we want to have a little fun at the same time too. So we're open to suggestions.
Yeah, I want to say hi to Marina from South Pasadena. My cousin lives in Pasadena, so I miss it there. Oh, we got Cindy from Gilroy, and then Cindy, hi, from Los Angeles. And then the question, sorry, John, I took over your job for a second. It says, will information about these programs go up on the website, or are they already there?
I can answer that, I guess. So some of these programs are up. Until we make a determination on the conference, and Cindy told you a little bit about that. Once we make that determination, and that'll probably happen in the next week or so, please correct me if I'm wrong, Cindy, but around that time, we will post some of these additional programs, including the Pro Preservation series. We'll add all of the programs that Chris talked about. So I would keep an eye on the website for the next week, and those programs will be intermittently added between now and a week from now. So
yeah, we're still confirming the dates for each of the speakers, so we're kind of running quickly to get this put together.
Yeah, but I think every speaker that we've mentioned here has been confirmed, so they're on board, and we're thrilled. And this is just the start.
We have someone from San Francisco. That's fun, and Sarah from LA.
Exactly, and we have somebody from, okay, so Los Angeles as well, San Francisco. Somebody's asking about if we can do programs on preservation of tribal resources. And
Good
she's
point.
saying at the PS conference last year, there were a couple of interesting talks on this topic. I'll add to that, and then Cindy and Chris can add to what I say. But first of all, I'll say that the Pro Preservation Series Part 2, Augmented and Virtual Reality, will hopefully have a speaker that covers the interpretation of archaeological resources using virtual and augmented reality. So we're trying to get somebody from the Wind Wolves Preserve to talk about archaeological resources and what they did with new technologies to interpret those. And that'll certainly cover the topic there. But Cindy or Chris, do you have any comments on that?
Cindy might.
Oh, no comment, John. I'm sorry. I was distracted by a question. I'm sorry.
I think also if we can go through our previous webinars and also maybe highlight, right, John, any that would discuss the tribal resources.
Yeah, there's plenty of programs in our archive. As Chris mentioned, we have 200 plus archived programs. You just go to our past programs section of our website, and you can search tribal to find all of those programs. Yeah. A lot of the programs on Section 106, on tribal consultation, on CEQA. We have some programs that cover AB 55. I think I have the bill number right. Or in AB 52, my apologies. And so there's a lot of information out there for tribal resources. We will continue to offer those programs, especially at the conference, and we have some programs scheduled for the conference.
Yeah.
More information on that will be forthcoming.
And thanks to Melissa from Sacramento.
Yeah, we are. We really do appreciate any comments you have about programs that you would like to see. We are. I think one of the wonderful things about this organization is we have many supporters from all over the country who, as you can see from the programs that we've offered up here, who have not hesitated to say yes to this. So we are really gratified at the support that we're getting from the people that we're asking to participate. So please feel free to ask or make any recommendations, and we will see what we can do to create some programs around these recommendations.
And also John from Sacramento, did you want to talk about, Cindy, that we're looking into perhaps doing other programs in Sacramento in the fall?
Yeah, well, we have several options on the table, again, looking at what we can do in conjunction with the conference and our reconfigured conference. So we are looking at perhaps, again, it's not confirmed, there's a lot that goes into this, but looking at a hybrid conference where we do a portion of it, in this case would be the sessions in a virtual format online, and then do some things on site. And we're still working through some of those details. We're, to be just quite frank with you, is we are looking at the economic implications of doing this. We don't know how long the situation is going to last. No one does. And we feel that when we come out of this, if the fall is a reasonable projection period for doing this, that the field will be awfully crowded. So we are looking at ways that we can still create a program or enhance the conference that we had by both the virtual and the on-site, and do it in a way that is creative, innovative, and really informative. And the whole purpose of having the conference is to learn and to bring people together. So we want to make sure that we can do that successfully.
And give our love to Sacramento, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to say, for those of you who have been to our conference, you know what an incredible opportunity is to learn from a lot of different experts, and we don't want to lose that opportunity or miss it. So we're doing all we can to make those sessions available to you. And we'll keep constant communication with you, and we'll be emailing you with further details soon. So we really want you to become a part of this, and we're going to make it happen as much as possible, as much as we can.
Yeah, it will happen. It's just in what form.
And there's about 25 sessions scheduled for the conference, each about 90 minutes in length. And all of those cover some of these topics that you've been asking for. So we hope you'll, when you have a chance, there are, if you go to the conference page now, you'll have a chance to see what was planned in May and what will likely happen later this year. So there's full details on all the speakers, all the session titles, all the descriptions if you go to californiapreservation.org/conference. And more of that information will go up soon.
Yeah. And spread the word. We're, you know, so we did the webinar last week. We had over 400 people signed up for it. So we're going to be promoting these programs out to a big, broad audience across the country. And please, by all means, share this information. It's our way to give back to our community and provide some information and some fun programs at the same time.
Yes, me really exciting. Does anyone else have any other questions?
We had a question from John who's asking if the online programming will be featured in emails to members. And I'm pretty sure that I can say yes, some of these programs will be shared by email, and we might be making a lot of these recordings available at no cost. And so we will be, if you haven't subscribed to our email newsletter, you can go to our website and there's a sidebar that says subscribe, and you can do that there. Or you can just sign up for any of these recordings and you end up on our mailing list by default, and you get our monthly newsletter. So there will be some featured programs in each of these upcoming newsletters.
And we will be sending out a major email messaging campaign to our members and to our larger constituents and supporters.
Right, but you're the first ones to hear about all of this information.
You are.
This is the big unveiling.
Yeah. Are there any other questions?
I have a question. So for our now something completely different program, what cocktail are you making, Cindy?
I don't drink cocktails. I'm a beer girl in wine country.
Right. I've been working on a whole series of cocktails that are inspired by Disney attractions, including Big Thunder Mountain, where we use Frontier whiskey, and also Haunted Mansion, which is more of a cosmopolitan with vodka and a cherry dripping slowly. So it could be something like that.
We need to have a favorite cocktail from our members.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yes, exactly. I think that's popular right now.
Okay, well, somebody is thanking us for these programs, and we thank you for your support. Any closing words from our other panelists here? I will just say thank you all for your support and your time, and please don't hesitate to email us. You can email me if you have a question about programs. Our emails are really easy to remember. It's just our first name at californiapreservation.org. So do you, Cindy or Chris, do you have anything else to say?
Just thank you. And definitely write to me if you have any ideas that you want to share or anything that you want to look into in particular.
Yep, a big thank you. We're all in this together. We'll survive. With humor.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, I'm going to log off now, but please, if you get an evaluation, let us know how we did, and if you want to see any particular types of programs, we'll try to make it happen. So thank you all for your time today.
Thanks.
Last slide.
Bye.